Hi,
Hello. Hi, Mom.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm back in my dungeon without you. It's so
No, it's been
sad.
too long. Been too long already.
Um, let's just recap our trip. We did have a great trip and spring officially sprung because we went and got Cadbury eggs, which our Argentinian little friends called Katy Perry eggs. So now they're constantly Katy Perry eggs in my mind. And I'm pretty sure we went to get them, and I didn't even make it out of the store before I started getting the party started and opening those suckers and popping them in. And Bella's had quite a week. It's been a little crazy because her little grumpy cat that we love so much had to go into the emergency room for like 3 days. Belle, can you
Yeah.
can you explain what happened?
Yeah, it's something that is actually pretty common with male animals. Like it can happen to dogs as well, but I had actually seen a Instagram post about it. Um, Basically just trying to spread awareness because her uh, cat had passed away from this, but basically he had a urinary blockage. When since male cats, their urethras are so small, they can easily get blocked with crystals. It's very similar to humans having kidney stones. And so I noticed the signs of him licking himself a lot or just, frantically going in and out of the litter box. Also, their stomachs can get very hard and it feels like their stomach is like a rock where usually he has
Mhm,
very like squishy, he just is kind of like a big
mhm,
boy. So he has
mhm.
a lot of skin on his stomach. And so, anyways, I hoped to think that even if I didn't see that video, I would have been concerned by the behavior. But, if you ever look up if your cat's doing this, they tell you to immediately take them into the vet. And I think sometimes when we see that online or with chat or whatever, you're like, oh, you're being dramatic. Like, because basically, it feels like everything that you look up, they just say, they need to go to
It's
the
like the
vet right
worst
now.
case scenario every time.
Giving
And
a PSA that if your cat's going male cat is going in and out,
because you don't
um,
have a lot of time. They they
yeah,
they
you don't. It
really
is
put this
24 to 48
time.
hours before their urine starts going back up into their kidneys.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happened the day after my
Yeah,
mom
like, the
left.
shit just hit the fan. Like, I
Yeah,
leave,
and I
Bella's
got
sick, Loco goes
definitely
in.
ill, and
I
yeah,
mean,
so
it's
I'm
just like
sleep
and
deprived, sick, in debt, and emotionally unstable. So if that shows, which I unfortunately
she's
think it's kind of
she's a little
apparent that
delirious.
that's why.
And you know how like it is with moms, like if Bella's in pain, I'm in Salt Lake and she's texting me until 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning of what's going on, which I'm so thankful for. But so I'm in it with her. But I was about to get back in my car and go and fully support her because it is so hard watching my child go through her little baby thing, and it's double hard. And anyways, but we also do think that what we are doing here is so beneficial. We just want to keep going. um so yeah, I mean, from Cadbury's to Kitty, but I will have to say, going back to the Katy Perry Cadbury's, the memes have been pretty funny. Like, I'm kind of loving when people are on Instagram and they're like doing food prep, and all of it is just Cadbury eggs or the bin folds of Cadbury's. I mean, people have gotten
Yeah.
pretty darn creative, and I kind of love it. It's a fun sign. So, today we have a really fun topic. It's just like really fun. It's one that, like, if you think relationships are going to show you yourself, this one is going to be the roadmap to really how you handle things when times get tough. And that is breakups. And breakups are not flat. Like, they're not like today we're broken up and it's good and gone forever. It is like the buildup to a breakup. It is the unfoldment after a breakup. It's really like, I mean, the healing process after a breakup is hard. And it just depends on how close we were, how what the connection was, everything that we bonded with, everything that we showed up for. I mean, a lot of us can move through the entire process during the relationship. So the breakup feels like it's not so intense, but there's a lot to it. What do you think? Because you've had some breakups.
Like one. um,
One that hurt.
oh, I think my first breakup was like
This
the
is
one
true.
of the worst things in the
This is
world.
true.
Um,
It was a young
as I
breakup.
yeah. Um, the funny thing about breakups is it's such an isolating feeling, and yet every single person, I would say, experiences the same feeling, but you feel so isolated because you are in the relationship with that person and no one else in the world is. So you feel very alone in the experience, but at the same time, I truly feel like, obviously there's different scenarios, but I feel like all breakups,
Well,
not
P.S.,
meaning
you are
that,
alone. You are alone because you're going to call your girlfriends every day and be like, oh my gosh, what should I do? And you're never going to do what they tell you to do. So you are all on your own navigational system, you know?
what do you mean by that?
Because how many times do we like have our girlfriends call and we are like, I think you should do this or I think you should do this. And the next day they called and they're like, well, I kind of was with him again last night. And you know what I mean? It's like you're really
Yeah,
only going to do what you feel like you need to do anyway. It is alone. You
yeah,
are alone. You know,
yeah.
people love you,
No,
but they
I
can't do it
agree.
for you.
I more mean that it is a universal experience. For some reason, that specific breakup feeling that we all have felt, all of us, like, it's was put here for us to have, and it is a very acute and specific feeling. It is. I
Yeah,
have
it is.
yeah,
It is. And this is the thing, too, because you are not only dating a person, you are dating a pattern. And you are dating a pattern that was the roadmap to your attachment style, your role in your family, your conditioning in your family. This pattern is a roadmap to why your nervous system lit up when you started dating that person initially. We are pulling people in for our unfinished business that we have not healed inside of ourselves. So it is also like, to me, it's like the relationship is one thing and you are finding so much about yourself in the relationship. But I really think the breakup is like an acute feeling of how you are going to, when the regulation's gone in this person, we literally bond our breath, our movement, the voice of a person, all of these things regulate our nervous system to that person, the side of them, the whole thing. And so when that person's gone, even if you're ready to move on, it really tells our system that we are in danger,
yeah. I think
you
also on a
know?
more surface level, example, you not only your patterns but your routine is regulated to them as well. So even if you're not fully looking internally to childhood and all of those things that you grew up with, you are seeing every single day. I mean, the person that you talk to the most, the person that you see the most, the person that you think the most. I remember through my last breakup, I just felt like I can't wait until this isn't I felt like it was 90% of my brain. And not even when I
Mhm.
was going through the breakup, but, like, in the relationship, and I just was like I felt like I had no space in my brain to think about myself because I just
Yeah.
couldn't stop thinking about the relationship and the other person, and I just felt like I didn't even have control over my own thoughts. But
Yes.
I think as you're
Yeah.
talking about patterns and redoing patterns, I do think that you should, enlighten everyone on why you felt like I was repeating your pattern when I moved to California at the exact same age that you moved to California with a
You're
boyfriend.
outing me. You're outing me. Well, this is just one of the many breakups that, first of all,
This
the
one's the
people
best one.
but the people that I was picking before this, I should have just broke up with myself because the level that I was choosing from inside myself was so low. I was accepting such low, connection for myself, and I just was not present. So the person I was really breaking up with was myself. But I was dating someone that was really fun. I I probably pushed it, but he lived in California. I was in Salt Lake. I really wanted to be with him, and in hindsight, you look back and you see all the reasons why it would not have worked. But at that point, I really, really liked him. So I quit my job, sold my car, bought a new car, driving to go, and I was so excited. I got there at like 5, 6 in the morning, and I'm like knocking. I'm just like, I'm so excited. And he basically just dumped me. So I think like 2 packs of cigarettes later and no Siri to road mapping and going circles in California trying to find my
Yeah,
way
and
out.
then where
I think
what did
didn't
you do
be
after that?
well, the funnest part of the entire thing is I didn't want to go home. Like I felt like I just moved to California. I didn't want to like literally turn around, drive home and be like, just kidding, I failed. So I moved in with my dad, who I love, but like in the same room. Like, you know what? So my dad moved out when I was a young girl. So if you want to redo your childhood patterns, move in with your dad when you're 18. That is a very fun scenario.
I feel like that story alone could just be made into a movie, honestly,
Oh
because,
gosh.
like, you're driving at, like, on the 101, you
Woo!
start heading here, and then, like, the next scene is you with your bags and you moved in with your dad. Like,
I think I was
you
so bitch slapped and hilarious, like delirious, that I was just like,
yeah.
I think it literally probably took 5 months to figure that shit out. And it never
I
was
can't
figured
even
out,
imagine,
you
like,
know?
thinking you're going to move in thank goodness your dad
I
lived
never
there,
was
but, like,
gonna
you're
move
gonna
in
move
with
in with your
him.
boyfriend.
Yeah,
Huh.
I was never gonna live with him, but I was going to figure it all out, at the time. But yeah, I mean, looking back,
And
you
wait,
just there's
but just say why he was so courteous. What was his courteous act?
well, he just really wanted to tell me in person because the phone
So
call
touching.
I
It's so
know, I
kind.
know. I really appreciated that
Thank you,
because
man. Thank you. You wanted to tell her in person. Oh my gosh. Thanks.
looking back, just because he had his own identity, I would have gotten lost in him. I would have gotten lost in so I go back to that and I'm just like, okay, it all works out for a reason. But truly like my breakups, I think I mean truly I can have this conversation with you because everything we're going to talk about is what I did wrong or that
Mm,
I was not embodied with. Let's just say after the breakup or during the breakup, don't overact, don't call, don't try to make him jealous, don't overperform, don't go do all the things. And okay, yeah, I did everything. Every one of these things we're going to be talking about is something I've done. And I know that it did not make me sovereign. I know I didn't hold myself when I was younger. I just didn't
yeah.
know any of these things. And that's why we want to talk about this. I literally did not even know I was picking these men because I did not have the role model in my life physically of a relationship to show me how to choose people. I didn't even know. I mean, we weren't talking about these things then. So I was
Um,
just,
I think that honestly, right before we are having this conversation, I was listening to Call Her Daddy. She just dropped a new episode. She visits a nonprofit that she supports that
mm,
houses pregnant women that are
mm,
in need of like safety and just need help. And a lot of them are domestic violence survivors and going through that. And it just, I think that you can say singularly, "Oh, yes, because I did everything wrong and I picked wrong." But it honestly, and maybe there's a few that haven't had a shitty partner, but I feel like it can be a very universal experience for women. And as they were talking, obviously they were saying, "Oh, from the outside, it's so easy to say, "Oh, why didn't you leave?" And of course,
mhm,
that's a
mhm,
main thing of
mhm,
everyone could say that, and
mhm.
we who have been through it know that it's not. But I was trying to imagine telling like, we've talked about my boyfriend sees things very black and white. So if I told him about this situation, I could see him be like, "Well, why didn't she just leave?" And I was processing in my brain, how could I explain that to someone who doesn't understand? And this woman was talking about how she started experiencing domestic or sexual assault and domestic violence when she was 5 years old. And
Mhm.
as a female, I think we look at why, how could I get myself into this? Why am I accepting the bare minimum? How could I possibly get into a situation like this? And even if your mom isn't or hadn't experienced, let's say your parents have a great relationship, I do think that there is something um, maybe ancestral, historical, that has really put women at the hands of men, and we're all experiencing this. We all know what it's like to have that. And now you're your age, so you can look back and be like, "Oh my gosh, my picker was so bad." But it really is something that a lot of us have have realized. And now I feel like we're at a turning point, hopefully, where we can start to kind of turn that around and, like,
Well, and I think,
that.
we have a blueprint in our subconscious mind of the programs that we experienced. A lot of those things, even if they are completely toxic, there is a level in the nervous system that it feels like home. It feels like familiar. And it's why someone who was abused and then abuses, like it is a looping system that it's
Yeah,
so hard to figure out. But also, because I do think that if we were used to a frenetic home, if we were used to a lot of these different attachment styles, our nervous system actually lights up for them. It feels alive with these programs because it does feel home. And I've had people in my life who had great homes and found themselves into situations that literally just built a cycle within a cycle that
yeah,
it's confusing. It's hard. I will tell you because I have experienced fixing and bonding over trauma and having explosive situations. And then when they are come to themselves and they are finally like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. There's this really weird, sick, energetic bonding that happens in the coming out of something traumatic
yeah.
together. And it does feel like the wound that hurt us is the wound that needs to heal us. And instead of being sovereign and healing
Yeah.
ourselves, it is like a magnetic force of our void inside of ourselves.
I think it's something that I really some of the sayings that we have that are common, like, well, you obviously didn't love yourself if if you're letting someone treat you like that, or what you said of
That's so
your
surface.
brain. It doesn't make sense. When I was
Mm-mm.
in it, it didn't
Mhm.
make I'm like, I love myself. I do. I don't have these it's such like a broad thing to say, and I also think that sometimes when you're in a relationship and if you have someone saying that that you're liking the trauma, or it just for me was really I couldn't really correlate the 2, and maybe now after years of processing, there have been specific things that I've been able to touch on, and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense," but in the moment, sometimes those sayings, they don't help, and that's
No, I
why
think
I like how
there it's confusing.
yeah, and I was going to say that it's okay if it's confusing, and also what you said of a cycle builds on itself. I think that is very, very true because, yes, you could years after then understand how maybe that related to your childhood or related to something deeper. But I do think that things can start and it snowballs without you even understanding. And then relating that to your parents or your childhood, it doesn't really match up. But the situation itself is what has turned into something that is unrecognizable at the point that, then you're at.
I know. And some of these things that I do think are profound and I really think are beneficial knowing and maybe recognizing in a relationship. But when you are literally looping in that trauma, and we've seen it in ourselves, we've seen it in friends. If I came up to you and said, you do this because of your childhood, you do this because of your dad, you do this because of this attachment style, whatever that is, I don't know if that is enough to wake you up to yourself to have the strength to leave.
It's very hard to recognize, and also what I think you said about I do feel and roles can be reversed and it can morph into any situation, but women do have this natural instinct for nurturing because we are child bearers, and that is in our genetics and in our primal nature. And I think then when you add that onto us humans that are very conscious, and here we are, we have thoughts, we have a frontal cortex, then you imply that into a relationship. Maybe you had the most perfect childhood, but you still have a female instinct of caregiving, you're going to find yourself again in a very, well, if I could, or I could try, maybe I could fix. We've all been the fixer. And I think it really, really sneaks up on you in times that you don't even know that you're trying to fix.
Well, it's true. And we know loving men who have tried to stay with toxic women too long as well. But I
Yeah,
think that
that's what I mean is it morphs.
the other thing as I was trying to leave certain relationships is I had built an entire like other entity around you're the best thing that ever happened to him. You know,
Mhm.
you like this whole thing that
Yeah, the guilt.
everyone else saw me as this like light. And it's not that it was like pumping my ego and making me worse staying, but it was like this other thing of another hook that was keeping me in that scenario. The family loved me. Thank goodness you're with him. Like everyone saw me as the anchor, which was just another identity that I had to break out of, as I
Yeah.
was leaving. And just like we said last time in relationships, when there is a scenario that um, their childhood trauma, all this stuff, and you think you're the only one that can save them from that. That is another kind of hook that keeps you bound in that relationship.
It's really hard, and a lot of my friends and people that I know who have there are multiple types of toxic relationships, but I do feel like there is one kind where you feel so attached to them and they don't really care. And then there's another kind where they are so emotionally dependent on yourself, whoever it is, and balancing the two is they're different situations for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
And I think that something when you are experiencing them being very codependent, having, you're replaying their childhood and their family, and maybe they don't have as much of a loving environment as you, or whatever their circumstances that is giving you compassion for them. I definitely have felt that, and working it out in therapy, I really came to the conclusion that my actions of staying with this person it's hurting them actually. And
Yes,
you
it is.
feel like you feel like you're doing the best thing for them by staying, but actually you're not allowing them to grow. And through my breakup, I felt like the one of the only things pushing me through is like, if this can push both of us to be someone that, like, be in the future able to have a healthy relationship, then I'm going to do it. Because if this can help myself and help the other person have a loving family one day, have a healthy relationship, have good communication because of this experience, then I'm going to try and keep pushing forward. And I think that
Yeah.
that is something that you have to tell yourself when you're feeling that
Oh my
way
gosh,
is
you're
it's
so
hurting right
right.
now.
Yep,
Yeah,
you're
it's
so
hurting
right.
now, but and I my therapist said you just have to trust that if their soul is looping and looping and looping, that their whatever higher being will help find its way to go on a straight line after that circle. But you guys have just done this for months, years. It's not going to change. So
Mhm,
if you could
mhm,
have any
mhm.
redirection, any help in making them, and improve on whatever behavior is and same with yourself, is ruining the relationship, then not being together is probably one of those things that can really help both of
Yep.
you.
And also, like, if you're still staying in the relationship, regardless if it's moving in a different direction, I've seen like these toxic cycles where someone is verbally abusive or abusive. And that person then after feels guilt and shame, which then that cycle goes on. And if the person who they're doing it to does not put up strict boundaries, the abuse to the guilt, shame, abuse, guilt, shame. Someone has to put up strict boundaries and stick to them, because those are just
Yeah.
cycles inside the relationship that need to be healed too. And so if you're not going to break up, which this is definitely more about the theme of breakups, but the thing is sometimes there's months towards a breakup, and you have to keep your boundaries, because then when the breakup happens, you will be more integrated and up leveled in yourself, because you're holding those standards for yourself. Because leaving a relationship when you're flat on your ass is the hardest thing to do. You
Yeah.
have to keep on working through it on yourself so you can leave the relationship.
Like you said, it can, I mean, sometimes it can be abrupt, but a lot of the times it is a very gradual process. And I think that I tell this to all my friends too, who they're like, I just don't feel ready. And it's something that I learned from you as well, is if you don't feel ready to leave, A, that's okay. But B, just start to recognize or accept this isn't my person. And just sitting with that feeling and not doing anything about it. Maybe you're in the relationship for 3, 4, 5 more months, years, whatever it is. But when you're sitting with that, oh, this isn't my person, and then just letting them be and not trying to change that. And I think that you can do a lot of growth within yourself and almost separation while you're
Mm-hmm.
still in the relationship. And
I
that doesn't
agree.
mean, yeah, you can still have happy moments. Like, you're still in the relationship. But I think just what you were talking about of an abusive cycle, I think it's really hard to see within yourself that you are silently vying for that apology, that
Mhm,
makeup, that,
mhm.
and even though you it feels really good, you're craving that on the inside. And I think that
Yep,
even just if you're in that cycle, just seeing and realizing that you are craving that is just one step into um growing and moving on. And I really do think that the first step of a breakup is when you see the person that you're with and it's, "This isn't my person." And just
yeah,
truly accepting that, because I think
yeah,
before you're at that place of, "Well, maybe if, and maybe if I could, and
trying.
if only this," and yeah. And if you really get to the point where you're like, "This isn't my person," and I watched it with one of my best friends who just went through a breakup as well. Once she got to the point where it was, "This isn't my person," it was a matter of weeks, months,
Yeah, yeah.
and then it because it just wasn't her person. She had to get to the point where she, her nervous system was aligned and she was able to leave. But just that first initial realization of knowing that this relationship isn't going to last is the first step to getting yourself out.
And what I wanna say, but I wanna bring up a point that you and I have spoken about too. So, if you come to that place, but you're not quite ready to walk, what happens is as we are healing ourself inside of those, so we stop trying to fix them, we stop you, we come back to
Yeah.
self, we start noticing self, we start noticing their patterns. Everything isn't trying to fix them. We start upgrading, we start mending, healing. What happens is a lot of those traumas that lit us up, lit us on fire when we first met them, those start to dissolve. So the
Yeah.
attraction then slowly dissolves. And what I want to say that we talked to our friend about, and what you and I have talked about, is there will be times where in this slow, I mean, some people just, it's like you're done because they find out something and they just are out of there, and then it's acute and abrupt. But when there's
Yeah.
kind of like
Or
this slow
especially when
step
you're getting
away.
broken up with.
Exactly. And that's another piece. But in this slowly stepping away, what I want to say is do not put finite rules on yourself, because then if you break them, you're creating your own weakness, because then you feel guilt and shame on yourself. You're abandoning and being mean to yourself, which inside yourself is pulling your self confidence, self worth down. When you do that, you think the void is this other person. So you start this little loop of, it's kind of like a diet. I cheated. I'm horrible. Now I'm going to go do that thing. You start to not trust yourself over and over again because you put these finite boundaries that you knew you weren't going to stay with. So, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like, that's a whole thing of having grace with yourself. And obviously, if it's not abusive, I'm not saying stay with anything that is like, an abusive situation. I'm just saying as you slowly detangle from someone.
Mm,
And
mhm.
you talk to
I
me about that. Tell me your thoughts.
No, I agree with what you're saying. I think that sometimes we put these unrealistic standards on ourselves, and every podcast that you listen to, everything that you hear is, the first thing you need to do is go no contact. I mean, I can understand why. And at the same time, I don't necessarily feel that that you have to go no contact in order to break up. I think that if you have truly reached a point that there is no going back, I think it's okay if you need to check in on each other. I mean, I think that you need to see where you're at, because if you aren't at that stage of really things being done, I just don't even know how final it's going to be, because if one text message is going to waver you back straight back into the relationship, then maybe you're not done with the relationship.
Yeah,
And
there's more to
I was
heal.
able to, yeah, I was able to get out of a relationship, and I didn't go no contact, but
Yeah.
we did set some boundaries, and it was different. It I for myself, it was really helpful for me to have, and I've had other friends that do this too, kind of like a planned time that we would speak or check in on each other. So, all of the times that I was really struggling, I was able to work with it within myself because I didn't feel that, oh my God, I'm never going to speak to them again. I knew that in 5 days we would have a short conversation and I would get a little bit of that like nervous system regulation. And I do think that obviously every situation is different and people handle things differently, but that really helped me because I'm very much get so into the future, and I start to panic, full freak out
Yeah.
panic attack. So
Yeah.
setting that boundary of it gradually got uh the time got
Yeah.
bigger, but
Well,
I
and
think it
you
was
have a
like
boundary. You had a boundary on what you could talk about too. Because that's another
yeah,
boundary. Like if you're going to call someone and they're going to try to draw you back in every time, then that's not healthy. What you're doing is you're calling
no,
that person saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Okay." You know what I
yeah,
mean? You're not like putting yourself in a situation again to jump back into a toxic
yeah.
situation. It's just
But
a slow.
yeah. What you said of not blaming yourself, and when my relationship was over, I knew it was over. I knew
Mhm.
it was over,
Mhm.
but I still had so much love and care for the person. I was still grieving, I was still going through loss. And so both of us found our own way to like navigate through that, and it helped because the feedback that we would get of they would say, honestly, it's felt kind of nice to work out some emotions on my own.
Yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
week apart has felt nice to feel my feelings, especially in those moments of really where you feel so helpless, you're sobbing. And for me, it really did help because those moments honestly are a lot of future, a lot of, oh my gosh, you feel like you're dying, and a
Yes.
little bit of kind of a structured it helped me.
Yeah.
But I just think that the most important thing, like you said, is having compassion for yourself. And
Yeah.
I always say to my friends, one of my friend had said to me when I was going through a breakup and when I had gotten cheated on, she was like, "There's no rule book for this. You couldn't
Mhm.
have planned this.
Mhm.
There's no
Mhm.
seriously, the what you are doing right now, whether you are speaking to them, whether you are not, you are physically doing the very best that you can
Mhm.
because your world is
Mhm.
flipping upside down. So
Mhm.
we really
Mhm.
like to turn things around and just absolutely shit on ourselves. And I think
Mhm.
that when like you said, when you are talking to yourself in that way and you are bringing your self-confidence down, you're just going back to their level, going back to the level that you were already on, which is why you're with that person. So think of if you said, well, I have two things. A, my therapist said, instead of saying, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? Maybe you're still talking to the person, maybe you're still in a relationship that you know isn't good for you. Instead of saying, why am I doing this, say, what am I learning from this? And I think
Mhm.
that that's just a
Mhm.
great way to
Mhm.
regulate yourself because it's the same thing, but one
Yeah.
just sounds a lot more kind and a lot more
Yes.
positive.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the other thing is just to have more compassion for yourself in those moments of imagine the same scenario, but if you're saying, I'm doing the best that I can. I am, let's say you got cheated on, you're like, I just found this out. I am handling things. Yes, we're talking, but I am processing on my own versus the other side of, why am I still talking to him? Look at all that they did to me. Why am I this? I'm so terrible. I'm so weak. It's the same situation, but it's literally just how you choose
Yeah.
to speak to yourself. It's a choice.
Yep. And one of our friends who got cheated on, she was like saying that she wanted to express so much hate and anger and scream at him and tell him all the reasons why. And then she realized, like, ultimately, she started feeling so awful inside of herself that when she was around him, those feelings of just wanting to unleash on him all the time were really uncontrollable and ultimately hurting her. So,
Mm,
I think, like, then she realized, she said that, like, I realized I really needed to pull myself back into only myself, because what I was extending was on that level of how I got hurt, and that's not how we heal. It's Nothing's going to
yeah.
heal in us when we're projecting out hate at someone. And so, like, I think one of the things is, there's no right or wrong to this, but there is, when you're, let's say you're broken up with someone, there is a place where we have to understand that regulation takes being quiet. Regulation takes being with yourself. Up level takes being in yourself. And grief is spacious, and we feel like we are losing our form, losing our identity. We already unconsciously gave parts of ourselves away because, realistically, we started building an identity with this person, started seeing future with this person, started, enmeshing so much. We've already lost that identity with ourselves. So to up level and keep ourselves whole, the only thing we can do is stay in our own consciousness. So if we're always projecting out and doing things outside of ourselves, like, I'm not saying don't go with your girlfriends, but, like, if we're always doing things and trying to keep ourselves busy, some of that is good, but there's parts that the upgrade needs to come in actually giving ourselves the things that we really truly desired in that relationship.
Yeah. I
You
have
know?
a friend that is also going through a breakup, and I commend her because she's just doing such an amazing job. And I think that there obviously are going to be those people that they can be busy and it actually will take their mind off things. I'm not one of those people. Like, whether I'm with people or not, I'm feeling. And I could have a jam-packed day during a breakup. I'm not going to feel much better than if I was alone crying. And I do think if you relate to that and if you're one of those people, then doing things actually does help you so much.
But I don't want
And
you to have your mind off of it all the time. I want you to
that's
have
not what I'm
time.
saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying that if you are someone like me, I I could wallow. I could dig myself the biggest
Mm,
grave, and I
got
did
it.
it during my relationship as well.
Mm,
And I think
mm.
that taking time for yourself, because you don't have to feel the entire relationship at once. And that
Yep.
was something that my therapist had told me is you don't need to process the whole thing at one time, because that's how my emotions are and I feel that big, and I have
Yep.
that big of
Yep.
emotions. And so she would
Yep.
say, feel feel a tablespoon, feel a small
Yes.
scoop of it,
Yes.
feel
Okay.
it
I love
for
that.
fif- yeah, feel it for 15-20 minutes. This doesn't mean
Yes.
that you're still processing your emotions, but I am one that I could sit there and feel. I could have a horrible day, or I could really process during a time and get myself going, because my when I go through hard things like that, my nervous system completely shuts down. I can't
Yeah.
eat, I can't
Right.
sleep, I can't
Right.
move, I can't do
Right.
anything. And so
Yep.
for me to even be able to function, and it actually is a form of self-care, is
Yes.
to
Yes.
go and
Yes.
try and do
Yes.
something. And so a really good tip that she gave me was set a timer on your phone,
Mhm.
have something
Mhm.
planned,
Yep.
whether it's you're going on a walk, whether it's you're going to get a coffee, whether it's your home, whatever it is that you have to do or are choosing to do, and set a timer on your phone for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. 20 minutes, feel all of your feelings, get your emotions out. And then once the timer is up, hold yourself accountable and you have to go and do that thing
Yep.
that you
Yep.
planned. And I think that some of those small tricks are really helpful when you're going through a breakup because it is such a large feeling that can consume you and it's like a death. You feel like it's never ending. It is so I can't even like put into words how hard it feels. So I think that those small tricks of just calming your nervous system saying, I don't need to deal with this all right now. I don't need to process all of this. I'm going to give myself time. And sorry, just the other thing that I want to say on this with a breakup is you and I think that you don't really you need to have bring yourself out of the
Mhm.
situation a little bit to see that
Mhm.
you really will have good days and bad days.
Yeah.
And once you go through a week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then you can really see that, oh my gosh, I actually do have good days and bad days. And
Yeah.
there's no like okay, Monday's gonna be a good day, and it just hits you for no reason. Maybe there is a trigger, like you had a dream or something, but some days are just really hard. And when I would have those really hard days where I just felt like I could not move forward, if I had experienced one moment or one day that I was even, let's say I was at the gym and I just had like a really good, like, I feel strong or whatever it is, when I was at that lowest moment, I was able to be like, if I can experience this low, I will experience that high at some point. And vice versa. When I was at that high and having a good feeling, I knew that there would be a come down because a breakup is
Yeah.
not linear
Well,
at all.
and either is this life. This life has the scale of polarity, but I really like what you're saying because the impact of a breakup is truly not just the breakup of that person. A lot of times you are opening up the original wound of something deeper inside of yourself. Like you are ripping off a band-aid of just like what just happened, but also like a very, very like internal part of yourself is literally raw. And
Yeah.
the other day when like this whole thing was happening with Loco, I just was having a lot of emotion and I put on my headphones and I was walking around like I was loony around the neighborhood. I mean, I'm sure they're just already used to me swearing all the time, but I was like out loud. I had a container and my container was I'm angry. I have rage. I'm so mad. I'm scared. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
And I was releasing my container. I was emptying
Yeah.
my container. And then when that was emptied, like you said, the 15 minutes or whatever, it wasn't going to be all day, but I allowed myself to sit, empty that, feel that. And then I was able to go and reparent myself. And when you were saying, like, you're having those little moments of healing or feeling good or worthy, you are literally reparenting and reprogramming that
Yeah.
nervous system, the neural highways. We might not understand we're doing that, you know? But
Yeah.
the other part is, I just think because we want activation in the nervous system, sometimes we do things like go backwards and we call an ex or we really go hook up with someone else too fast and we do these lateral moves because we're still healing, we still feel wounded, we want self reassurance, but
Mhm.
honestly because that is kind of this lateral, like we're on this frequency, so what we're hooking into on that frequency is very much a similar feeling and literally mirrors that feeling back to you. So when you are doing things, all I'm going to say is try to do something that is in a higher frequency of love for yourself. So you're not,
Yeah.
you're not making choices of a similar feeling that you're already down in the dumps about. And it's just going to mirror how down you are. Because I think a lot of us feel we want to do that because we want instant gratification to feel better, but ultimately it doesn't.
Yeah. I really like what you said, how you put on your headphones, and I think that there are many different ways and forms of this. Maybe some people like to journal. I don't love to write down my words. Like if I'm journaling, I usually draw. But something that really helped me, and I've been watching one of my friends do this as well, and I think it's really important, is speaking your feelings to
Mhm.
whoever it is. And
Mhm.
a lot of the times I just I just I would have a really really big emotion come up, and it's hard to film yourself. You feel really awkward and you kind of have to get used to it. So a lot of the times I would just have the camera up and film myself, and maybe for the first 3 4 minutes I wasn't even saying anything, but I kind of would like force myself to start talking. And then as I was talking, then I felt like less embarrassed to I was alone. It just is awkward
Yeah,
to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
to yourself.
Yeah.
Um, but it helped me so much because for me, a breakup feeling is claustrophobic. I get very you feel stuck in your situation, especially when you
You
get cheated
do.
on. You are
Yep.
stuck. That is your
Your
reality,
control
and
has
it's
been
like
taken away.
yeah. And your brain is just constantly trying to play catch up. It's like right when you are wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And it is just, it's very, very stuck and very claustrophobic. And so when I would have those feelings, I, keeping them inside, I realized was part of that claustrophobia. And so taking a video, or I moved to going on my voice notes, and I just would talk and just say exactly like in that moment what was coming up for me. And you have to do it right then because
Yeah, yeah,
that is
yeah.
when it's coming up. And then you are
Yes.
basically, especially if you thought of those words as physical beings or something, you're actually
Yes.
like getting them
They're entities.
physically
It's
out of,
energy.
yeah,
It is.
out
It
of your
is.
body.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I that really, really helped me was just making the and I never no one has seen these videos. It was never for anyone. I never shared them. It was something for myself so I could literally say whatever I wanted. But I do have a friend who's going through the same thing right now, and she made a private story very close with, a few people on it, and she has just been basically doing that. And her way is to do it to her friends, but she just kind of
Hold
has
on one
been
second.
speak
Keep on talking.
she's just been speaking about her day or her feeling or how that day was and how it was difficult for her. And it is very therapeutic, and I
Yeah.
think that sometimes when we journal, if you're not used to that, it feels so permanent. Like, what if someone reads this? Like every time I
Well,
journal, I feel kind of
exactly.
awkward.
But
Yeah.
but a lot of people do write and burn. So,
Yeah.
like, if
Which
you
is
are a
that's good
writer,
too.
yeah, so you can
Yeah.
actually
I
do
just
that.
feel kind of, like, awkward when I see
Yeah,
my thoughts. I
yeah,
kind of like, "Dear diary," I just don't love it, and
yeah.
so when I would listen, and you know what? Now I do still have some of those videos, and I have gone back and listened to them because it just is really nice to know what I was saying back then and how I was feeling, and now I'm feeling better.
What I wanna say is that I also write to myself. Sorry, not write. I speak to myself things that I want to embody, to integrate into my nervous system, into my subconscious mind. So I will go on my recording and I will tell all of the things that I love about myself, that I want to see in myself, my future, my understanding, my grace, all of this. And you know what? People aren't used to this. People aren't used to saying, I love you. You're amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you. You are this. I can't wait to this. Good job on this. Start to speak to yourself and go to sleep to it on your walk. Listen, and like I love podcasts. It is powerful to hear your own words, your own
Yeah.
self, filling yourself with love. That's
And
enough.
something that I also love too that that we just talked about was there obviously is that part. You have to do both. You have to feel and fuel yourself. And if you do have someone in your life that is very supportive of you, whether it's a friend group, whether it's your mom, whoever it is, if you have that person, it is really amazing to have them encourage you and tell you that you're doing the right thing and validate you. And I think that that's something that my friends and I do really well, especially through breakups, is if they need to hear 1,000 times that they're not crazy and that they did the right thing and that what the other person did was fucked up, we will be there to tell them every single time that you're not crazy. Because when you're in the relationship, you have goggles on. Like you are so confused. You're dealing with your emotions, you're dealing with reality, you're dealing with that side of them that's so sweet, but then that side that maybe cheated or was verbally, physically, whatever you're dealing with, it is so confusing. So when you have that outside source that is just there to tell you you're okay, you did the right thing, you're strong, all of that, it's really helpful. And I
It
think that
is.
maybe the main theme as we're talking about breakups is just regulating your nervous system. I think
Yes,
that is
yes.
probably one
Well,
of the most
I
important things that can get you through.
Yep, I agree, and at my stage in life, I'm having more divorces, you know what I mean? So, I just wanna say to you, from my experience of my people who are calling me going through a divorce, what's happening is they have today, and in their system, they literally it's like not only dealing with right now, today, their mind starts to go and project, oh my gosh, I need an attorney and I need this and I need this. And it
Mm,
overwhelms them so much. And so we go back to just now, just now. And honestly, every single person that I've seen get a divorce or go through their, these processes, what they started out with completely shifted from what they thought it was going to look like. They were led
mhm.
and guided, things unfolded every day. There were my point is everything that they thought at that moment they were so overwhelmed with never happened. Their greatest fears of what they thought was going to be so big never happened. It
Yeah,
unfolded for them, and when they just bit off small bites, they were able to handle now. And then now, you don't have to think of 5 days from now if you can just stay
yeah.
right now.
I exactly when it comes, to regulating your system or that claustrophobic or future tripping, but something that you said kind of at the beginning that I also think is a huge feeling when you're going through a breakup is this feeling of embarrassment that is so stupid. Like I have been there and I have felt embarrassed and I totally understand why you feel that way. um it is just another layer that you add on to yourself, and it is so hard to feel embarrassed for going through a breakup or going through a divorce because most people, when they find out, honestly have compassion for you. Oh my gosh, I didn't know they broke up. That's so sad. Or oh, I hope they're doing okay. That's really hard. That is, at least for me, when I find out, that's my first thought. Especially even to the people that I see on Instagram that I'm like, oh my gosh, did they break up? Like I my thought is, oh my gosh, that really sucks. But for some reason we have this full internal embarrassment, and it just shouldn't be there. I just wish that, like, if there's one thing you can get to take away, it's the embarrassing part, because that is the one thing that I have felt, that my friends have felt, and it breaks my heart when they would say it, of just like, I feel so stupid. I'm so stupid.
Yeah,
Just this negative self-talk,
yeah.
because you're like, okay, you have been in a very hard relationship. You have been doing your best every day. You have school, life, work, everything else. On top of that, maybe your partner has been lying to you, maybe there are manipulative games going on, whatever it is, and then you're going to tell yourself that you're stupid. It
And
is
that's
just something.
going it is, but I think that is what's going back to the opening up the original wound, because there's
Yeah.
nothing in it that correlates to what's happening. You're like, "Oh my gosh, I should be proud of myself. I should be like, I'm sitting here with myself, for myself."
Yeah.
There should be
Choosing
recognition, but
better.
exactly, but the original wound for all of us is like this exposure
Yeah.
of self
You
to
feel
people.
so exposed.
Like,
You
everyone
are
knows but
waiting.
you, everyone's
Yeah. And what are they gonna say? What's their side of the story versus yours? And let me tell
that's a
you,
big one. That's a big one.
yeah, I have to say, look, like you're gonna have a small group of people and you're gonna have their friends and you're gonna have your friends, and you'll probably, especially your very, very closest, they know your side, they know their side. Then you have a little bit of an outer ring that maybe as couple friends or whatever, and you're gonna get differing opinions. But and even that ring, and then the one ring that's bigger, that's maybe work or community, you know what I mean, friends of a friend, just like Salt Lake Valley, or just those
Yeah.
people that you're not
Yeah.
going to directly
Yeah.
tell, but that are going to find out.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't care. Like, they hear the thing, they go to their partner about, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about this?" Whatever. And then I mean, honestly, after that moment, but no one cares. Like, the moment happens, people find out, and people move on with their lives. I see it every day with horrific things that we have in the news, with the Jim Carrey thing. Like, we have these things that are going on that it's like, so wait, was that Jim Carrey? No one cares anymore. We have moved
Yeah.
on. Like,
Yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
people are constantly getting information and they don't care about you. It's,
I
you
know,
are living the
and
reality every day.
it's
So you
it's
feel
true,
like it's you.
and I know, and this is another thing, we cannot look for who we are outside of everyone's eyes. I have heard it from you, I've heard it from my girlfriends. I'm going to have to leave this situation knowing that this group of people, they are going to think that it was my fault, and that is gonna have to be okay. That is gonna have
Yeah.
to be okay, and it
Yeah.
feels like you wanna go on the news and justify it to everyone, but if you know
It's
inside
true.
yourself that this is for you, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Well, and the other person also had an experience as well. Like,
Right.
they can tell people, their close friends, whoever. I mean, obviously, it's really frustrating when it's handled immaturely, but they can tell people their side just as you are. But that, I just have to say, quick story that made me laugh is one of my very best friends, her ex they worked at the same place, and they worked at a Walmart together, and she had gone off, she'd gone to school, she went and started building her own life and her own community, and then just during the winter break she had come back, and to make some money she needed to go work at that Walmart. And she's telling me, she's like, everyone here hates me because they told everyone how horrible I am and that I ruined their life and that I'm all this stuff. And I looked at her and I said, if they had to tell all of their friends at Walmart, all of their coworkers at the one of how many billion Walmart, that you're a nasty ass person, then who freaking cares? Who cares? Like, if that is their
Not that
community.
we're putting people down at Walmart. We love Walmart.
No,
But
I'm just saying,
but just
if
if that's what
a
he
grocery
needed,
store if a grocery store coworker, whoever, I think it's just, I'm just saying it's select that
people
they worked at
need
the
to
same
build their
place.
story.
Yeah, but if that is the community that you need, your coffee shop that they worked at as well, and then they come, whatever, if that is that, then so freaking be it. So you know what? Those people at Walmart, they don't like her. Who cares? And once I said that to her, she was like, "You're right. Okay, fine. 30 employees in the middle of nowhere in a random state don't like me at one store. so be it. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also really true. And I also just want to say you are probably breaking up with that person because their lens, their identity, their place in the relationship, they were not willing to come and see, step outside of themselves, see the entirety of what they were doing. I mean, a lot of people, they are just going through their lens in this relationship, and they're going to do the breakup the exact same way they did the
They're gonna do
relationship.
the relationship, yeah,
I mean,
and I
you
think
wouldn't be
that that
breaking
is
up with
something.
them.
Yeah, exactly. It's so hard because when you're together, they and you have some sort of responsibility to respect your partner in a way. You can't go to the world and say, "Fuck this person," because you're with them. But when you don't have
And it reflects
control,
on you.
they yeah, they have free reign. They can do because there's no control over each other, and I think that that's also similar with are they going to go and hook up with someone else right after? And I think it's such an out of control feeling, but in the end, if that person that you were just spent years of your life with goes and hooks up with someone within tw- however long, 24, 48, within that, then it's even though that is the most crushing and disgusting feeling, you can understand that that person is not capable of handling their emotions. And when they're not capable of handling their emotions, they're not capable of handling yours, of being a good partner, of being supportive, of sitting with their emotions and yours, of working on themselves. How can they work on themselves
Well,
or do any of that when they can't even sit with their feelings, when they're downloading Tinder within the day because they just can't even deal with a single emotion of their own?
I think a lot of people as well, they are already moving towards doing that in their relationship. And
Yeah.
it's like I remember staying with people because I'm like, I just don't want him to be with someone else. I just don't want him to be, that would crush me. They were probably already doing it. Let's just be honest.
True.
Like
Yeah,
like the
what's
fact that
worse?
I was yeah, so I'm just like hooking myself in and they're already moving that direction. But I do think that a lot of us heal within the relationship. We up level in the relationship. And a lot of us, I mean, honestly, if you are ready to break up with someone, I love when people can be with themselves for a bit. Some people are ready for something different because they
Oh, for
really
sure.
stayed into the last minute. And so it's not that we're saying like you can't move on. I mean, it's like ready or rebound, ready
Yeah.
or rebound. Do you know what I
The
mean?
le yeah. The last thing that I want to
Sorry, you
say
froze.
is I know that my exes are like, damn, she handled that breakup really maturely and kindly. And I think that the first thing that you want to do is retaliation, is, shit talking them to everyone, all of these things. And not that it matters what they think of you, but if they have a story about you, it is, see, that's why, see, that's what, she's crazy, they're crazy, whatever it is. And I think for me, in every situation, I have handled my relationships with, even if they haven't, I handled it with respect, I handled it with kindness, with honesty. I wasn't out here performing. And I think then after the fact, it's like they've been like, I mean, wow, you were an amazing girlfriend, but then for you to handle the breakup in that way just even shows how much more, because when you're with people, you share the very, very most intimate details with them. And it's really scary to break up because all of those things can, they have free reign, and you just, but both
Yeah.
ways,
Well,
like,
even the
you wanna
bond.
handle it with the most respect because that's who you
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
and that's how you
Yeah.
treat people,
Yeah.
and you carry yourself,
Yeah.
you move on from that, and you freaking leave them in the dust because you just
Yeah.
handled everything
But
authentically to yourself.
I have to tell you this too, looking back on my relationships and even parts of my marriage, I just have to tell you, I always felt that way. I always felt I always want them to look at me in all of these years and say, wow, she was great. But let me just be very honest with you. I look back, and I don't mean this is like I don't self love myself. I mean, I don't like myself. I don't like the person I was in that relationship. I don't like the person that
Mhm.
I was in because I wasn't conscious. I was running a program. I was reacting. I mean, every part of me in those relationships, I felt like was love, but I don't think it was love that kept me there. I really think that there were broken parts of me that I was trying to heal, even in my marriage. And I mean, Drew and I have grown together for 30 years, but it was brokenness of a lot of the reasons for my actions. And so, if you can get yourself far enough from these relationships that you can look at truly who you're being and what you're doing and what you are like accepting in that relationship, that's what I want you to ask yourself. Yes, all of the things that you said, because that's so beautiful. Also, be honest with yourself. Is that the level? Is that the level? The words, what they're doing, how you're treating them, is that the level you want to be in this lifetime? And if it's not,
Yeah.
it's what we call a special relationship, and it's trying to fix people and get things from people and do all those things. And if you're not there, then leave it, be with yourself, up level, and then you can move on. Then you can really not be just rebounding and fumbling into the next.
It's hard, this topic. We could go and go and go because when you
No,
talk about
I know.
the trauma, then I want to talk about this and that, and when we're you leaving, and then how they respect you afterwards, and there will probably at some point have to be a part two because I
You have
think
to.
that it it is a never ending topic because you're always growing through your whole life through every relationship. So there's just
Yep.
countless things to touch on,
I
but
know.
I hope
I know.
that the people listening, whether you're going through a breakup or have experienced one, had a level of connection. And I think that when we do these videos, I really want to just try and find a few key pointers because that's what I love. Just a few little tricks
Yep.
of that you can keep in your pocket on how to cope, on how to get through a situation, on how to process. And so
How to
hopefully,
fight an urge.
yeah, how just to keep pushing through the day to day. So
Yep.
hopefully,
Yep.
if you're one that recently went through a breakup, that you connected with
If you
this,
want to have a
or
breakup,
yeah, if you I don't think anyone wants to have a breakup, but if you feel
no.
yourself
But
nearing
if
that
you're
part
getting
of
yourself
you,
ready,
yeah, just know that, like, you obviously are not alone because you have us, but that everyone has felt this way. You're going to get through it. Be nice to yourself. It is a universal experience that we have been put on this earth to honestly all feel this type of heartbreak. And when you're going through it, it is very lonely and singling, but it is something that everyone can relate to that pain. So,
and as I love what you just said, and I'm just going to add the mother aspect to that. I know that when you were going through these relationships, I love these people. You brought them in, and it was a great relationship for you to uplevel yourself in, to get to know yourself in. And so I sat back and loved you through it without putting pressure in, like trying to like control and make things my way so I didn't have to see you in pain. I just tried to love you through it. So I'm just saying also, like, as we see our kids go through it, I know we want them
and
away from these
friends.
people and friends. And I know you want to be like, you have to leave. And if you don't, I'm frustrated. Like, I know that. I get that. I've seen that. I want that for my friends too. But I do think just the witnessing and the loving and the being with people is what is also holding space for them to heal within that, and then allowing them to know they won't be alone too.
That's what I was gonna
So
say. Obviously, you want that for your friends, but what you want the most is for them to be supported. You want them to
right,
feel
right.
supported more than you want them out of the relationship. And so make sure to be a good friend, support your friends, check in on them. Please don't fucking judge them for their choices and just reassure them that they're, doing the very best that they can because they are. And when roles are reversed and it's you, then you'll understand as well that yeah, you're just doing everything you can each day to get through the situation that you're in. And hopefully you
It's so
have good friends
true.
that are helpful
I
and
know,
supportive to
I
you.
know. I agree. And I also just want to say is let's choose again. You can DM us on Instagram, like tell us things. We'll read your messages, like whatever. Let's just connect.